They called him a barbarian, a destroyer, a scourge from the east. But behind the legends and the blood was a man forged in suffering, sharpened by betrayal, and lifted by vision. This is how the age of the steppe horse ended the world as it was known, and how Genghis Khan began it anew. It begins with a boy. Not a conqueror, not a king, just a boy named Temujin, born under the wide sky of Mongolia in the shadows of the Khenti Mountains, the son of a chieftain, the child of a tribe. But fate wastes no time. His father, poisoned by enemies, left the boy with nothing but a name. And that name meant nothing in a world where wolves ruled men and men hunted each other for meat. Abandoned, starving, his own clan cast his family aside. His mother, Hoelun, taught him not merely how to survive, but how to fight for survival, how to feed a fire that would one day consume empires. At 9 years old, Temujin was a boy without a tribe. And then he killed his own half-brother, Better, slain over food, over pride, over dominance. That moment wasn't murder. It was a message. Temujin would bow to no one. His youth was spent gathering strength, not in numbers, but in loyalty, in oaths, in friends and foes who would later define his destiny. There was Jamuka, his blood brother, Anda, who would become both his greatest ally and his bitterest rival. There was Togrul, a tribal lord who helped him rescue his kidnapped wife Burda, taken by the Merkits. Together, they spilled blood and forged bonds. And there was Burta herself, his anchor, the woman whose capture began a war and whose return lit the flame of conquest. Temujin began to understand something no other tribal leader had grasped: unity, not just under bloodlines, not just under names, but under merit. He offered status not just to the noble, but to the loyal, the capable, the brave. He wasn't building a tribe. He was building a nation. Rival after rival fell. Tatars, Merkits, Naimans, each defeated not just by sword, but by strategy. Temujin's forces were precise, his tactics unorthodox, his punishments brutal, his rewards unprecedented. In 1206, after years of endless war, the scattered tribes of Mongolia assembled at a Kurultai. And there, they gave him a new name: Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. The steppe thundered with hooves. The tribes were no longer divided. Mongolia was one. But conquest does not rest, and neither did he. Genghis Khan looked to the horizon and saw not kingdoms, but obstacles. And he did what obstacles fear most. He moved north into China. The Jin dynasty was powerful, fortified behind walls and cities, but not invincible. From 1211 to 1215, he struck them with relentless fury. His cavalry moved like ghosts. His siege tactics evolved with every battle. Then he turned west, to the Khwarezmian Empire. Diplomats were sent first. Peace was offered. They were killed, humiliated, beard singed, head shaved. It was a mistake the world would never forget. In 1221, Genghis Khan unleashed a storm. Cities were razed, rivers ran red. Samarkand fell. Bukhara fell. The Mongol war machine was not simply power, it was precision. Psychological warfare, decentralized command, armies scattered, kingdoms trembled, and the name Genghis Khan spread faster than any sword. But even as he conquered, he created. He wasn't just a warlord. He was a lawgiver. He established a legal code known as the Yasa: theft, punished; disloyalty, punished. But religion, protected. He welcomed all faiths: Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, and more. Clerics were exempted from tax. Dialogue was encouraged. He was not interested in dogma. He was building an empire, A network of roads stretched across his domains. His yam system, a postal relay of riders and stations, turned distant provinces into interconnected centers. Merchants were protected, trade flourished. The Silk Road came alive again beneath Mongol banners, and the world began to change. But Genghis Khan's vision did not end with borders. It extended through governance, through systems, through legacy. His sons would inherit pieces of the earth. But Genghis, he was not finished. Not yet. Because death had not found him. But it was searching. It found him in 1227, in the shadows of the Western Shia. There are whispers of how it happened. A fall from a horse, a battle wound, illness, or perhaps the heavens simply decided the earth had felt enough thunder. His death was kept secret. His generals carried on the campaign as if their Khan still lived. His body, it said, was taken back to Mongolia. His resting place buried in anonymity, hidden from the world he conquered. No monument, no tomb, only memory. But what he built refused to die. Because Genghis Khan did not merely create an empire, he forged a movement, one that outlived him, one that reshaped the planet. The empire he began stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea. His descendants would carve into Russia, into the Middle East, into the heart of Europe and beyond. Kublai Khan, his grandson, would later establish the Yuan dynasty, becoming Emperor of China. But long before that, long before history recorded names in books and maps were drawn in ink, the ripple of Genghis Khan's revolution was already rolling across the world. He had taken the horse-borne chaos of nomadic life and turned it into a system. He had raised warriors from obscurity and made them commanders. He had taught that loyalty was worth more than lineage. And perhaps most incredibly, he had enforced order over chaos. Merchants traveled under Mongol protection. Ideas flowed, gunpowder, paper, compasses, mathematics, medicine, from China to the Islamic world to Europe. This Pax Mongolica, this Mongol peace, was not peace as the world had known it. It was a pause in the storm. And in that pause, the seeds of the modern world were sown. But even beyond influence, beyond governance or war, the mark of Genghis Khan was carved into the very blood of humanity. It is estimated that 1 in every 200 men alive today carries his genetic signature. He did not just conquer land, he conquered time. And what remains is not just a name, it is a lesson. That greatness does not always come from palaces, that leaders are not born, they are forged, in suffering, in exile, in the hunger that gnaws until action is the only cure. Genghis Khan was many things: tyrant, liberator, butcher, innovator. But above all, he was change. He was the edge of a blade, cutting through centuries of division, ignorance, and stagnation. He rode out of nothingness and left behind everything. So when the wind howls over the empty steppes, listen closely. It still carries the sound of hooves and the name of the man who made the world tremble: Genghis Khan.